Yes, I think we can start now. Welcome all to our virtual energy communities workshop. Thank you for participating with us today. Actually, in our last sessions, Soren from Samso Island will made a presentation to us, but he has some problems, so he couldn't join to us today. And Damia from Formentera will make a presentation for us. Hello, Damia, also.
Hello.
Then I will start, then Diego will from Algobat will make their presentation, then Damia will make a presentation for us. Thank you all for this. Now I want to also say that this workshop is recording, by the way. And then let's start with what is energy communities. It is not changing. Neden çekiyor? Okay. Actually, when we say energy community, there is so many different ways to define energy communities. Community energy refers a wide range of collective energy actions that involve citizen participation in the energy system. And also community energy projects are characterized by varying degrees of community involvement in decision-making and benefits sharing. They may describe a community limited by a geographical location or a community interest. And also they can be understood as a way to organize collective energy actions around to open democratic participation and governance and provision benefits for the members or the local communities. Also, in a broad sense, energy communities are contagious process both of energy transition and the social innovations. As decentralized and renewable-based energy projects, they can promote sustainable energy production and consumption practices, and as consumer and empowerment and community-driven initiatives, energy communities can play a key role for the social innovation as they reflect a fundamental shift in consumer behavior. And when we see the I can't change. Sol şeyi çevirir misin? Sorry, we have some screen problems, but yeah, now it's
okay. Now it's working.
Next slide, please. Tamam. Also, Diego will explain European legal frameworks, but in a short definition, energy communities are defined two separate laws in the clean energy package. One is the revised Renewable Energy Directive in 2018. It sets the framework for renewable energy communities covering the renewable energy. And the other is the revised International Electricity Market Directive 2019, and it introduced new roles and responsibilities for citizen energy communities in the energy system covering all types of electricity. Now I want to, next slide please, I want to explain their common conceptual elements. For the governance, participation must be open and voluntarily. In the Renewable Energy Directive, participation in renewable energy projects should be open to all local members. And also the revised electricity market directive also states that membership should be open to all categories entities. And for the ownership and the control, both definitions emphasize the participation and effective control by citizens, local authorities, smaller business whose primary economic activity is not the energy sector. And their purpose, the primary purpose, is to generate social and environmental benefits rather than focusing on the financial profits. Next slide, please. And in addition, all the renewable energy communities can exercise similar activities, including generation, distribution, supply, aggregation, consumption, sharing, storage of energy. Depending on the activity performed, they must comply with the obligation and restrictions applicable to the other market participants, for example, generators, suppliers, distributors. And furthermore, these communities differs in the following ways. For the geographical scope, revised renewable energy directive keeps title having local communities, and the revised electricity market directive does not bind the citizen energy communities and to the immediate vicinity or the same geographical location between generation and the consumption. And for the activities, citizen energy communities within the energy sector can be renewable and fossil fuel based, but the renewable energy communities cover a broad range of the activities referring to all forms of the renewable energy in the electricity, or they can be also heating sector. And participant, any actor can participate in citizen energy community as long as the members or shareholders that engage in the large-scale community activities. And for the renewable energy communities have a more restricted membership and only allows the natural persons, local authorities, micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. And the autonomy, according to the Renewable Energy Directive, a renewable community should be capable of remaining autonomous from individual member to other traditional market actors. And the definition of citizen energy communities does not include autonomy, but decision-making powers should be limited to those members, shareholders that are not engaged in large-scale commercial activity and for which the energy sector does not constitute a primary area for economic activity. Also, renewable energy communities can be effectively controlled by micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. And for the renewable energy project, while citizen energy communities exclude medium-sized and large enterprises from being able to exercise effective control. Next slide, please. Also, there is some legal structures for the energy communities. Let's see these legal structures. These structures is first one, energy cooperatives. We know that this is the most common and fast growing from the energy community. This type of ownership also primarily benefits its members, and it is popular in all the countries where renewables and community energy are relatively advanced. And the second one is limited partnership. This partnership may allow individuals to distribute responsibilities and to generate profits by participating in community energy. And community trust and foundations, their objective is to generate social value and local development rather than benefits for the individual members. And housing association is a non-profit associations that can offer benefits to tenants in social housing, although they may not be directly involved in decision making. And non-profit customer-owned enterprises, they are legal structures and using by communities that deal with the management independent grid networks. And public-private partnership is local authorities can decide to enter into agreement with citizen groups and business in order to ensure energy provision and other benefits for communities. And the public utility companies are run by municipalities who invest in and manage the utility on behalf of taxpayers and citizens. Next slide, please. And we are focusing, among them, we are focusing on the energy cooperatives because also in Turkey, it is the most famous way to establishing that energy communities. And energy cooperatives is a good option for the energy projects in all the countries. When looking at the cooperatives, also it is important to look at what they do, but also how and why they do it. Their main objective is very important. And there are some different types of energy communities. Next slide, please. And there are a number of different types of energy cooperatives active in the energy sector, and there are too many variety terms of use to describe them. The term of energy cooperative is not used a uniform way in a literature and the authors, and the following categorized are mostly cited. Type of cooperative model, for example, there can be energy consumer cooperative, energy producer cooperatives, producer and consumer cooperative. For the energy source, as we know, there can be solar cooperatives, wind cooperatives, wood-fired power stations, cooperative bioenergy villages, and for their activities and the positions, workers cooperatives, for example, innovation cooperatives, purchasing cooperatives, and for the energy cooperatives can produce their energy and supply energy to their consumer members or the non-member silence or feed into the national grid. For this purpose, also they can either use fossil fuels or renewable energy sources. And in some countries, also like Denmark, we know they have bioenergy villages also organized using by cooperative model. And consumer also may group together into energy cooperative to purchase energy as means to obtain better prices, as we know. And they are also may organize the distribution of energy, for example, by operating electricity distribution lines. And also they provide services related to the provision of energy, such as advisory or training services. Next slide, please. I want to also tell about some Turkish laws on this issue. In Turkey, there is two ways for the producing their electricity. One is licensed way, second one is unlicensed way. And cooperatives are established under unlicensed way, unlicensed electricity production. And they can only produce produce 5 megawatts electricity, but in the sunset way, they can produce up to 5 megawatts electricity. And for the cooperatives, they can, if they want to establish a cooperative, at least they have to, they have 7 members for establishing the cooperatives, and they can sell their electricity also, if there is more. Next slide, please. In our project, for establishing the energy communities, we will use the living laboratories methods. When we research on the living laboratories method that I will explain now, then after we research living lab methods, we made a roadmap for our 2 islands that I will also explain now. Let's see what is living lab. Living labs movement in Europe, they started this methods to use in 26, and when it was first mentioned in the Helsinki, since then living labs have spread all over the Europe in various ways. And first focusing on the new ICT tools, but later also extended to the other fields such as sustainable energy, healthcare, safety, etc. And nowadays we will read about the living labs in the newspapers, networks, lots of the European projects. Also, living lab experiment usually takes place in the uncontrolled real-life settings in the daily environment, and their end users, which they can have a scale of house, a street, a neighborhood, but also a city or a travel corridor. This research in the wild approach allows to take a variety of the outside situations into account. And the multi-method approach, often practiced by living labs, allows the involvement of multidisciplinarity competences, encouraging and unprecedented combination of skills, competences, peoples, equipment, companies, etc. And thus the development out of the box innovations. Next to this, living labs are also about continuations, upscaling, synergies. And next slide, please. Next slide. There is some categorization of the living labs also. They can be research living labs, organizational living labs, intermediary living labs, the product-oriented living labs, and the urban transition living labs. I won't go deeply in these terms because I want to give our sample also. The next slide, please. And the living lab activity, there are 5 key principles: value, influence, sustainability, openness, and the realism principles for the living lab activities. Next slide, please. Now I will tell about our living lab roadmap. In the next months, if I'm not wrong, we will set a living lab roadmap for the Formentera and the Gökçeada Islands both. Then we will share this roadmap with our project islands. I want to share the roadmap to you. Yes. Can you see my screen? Yes. For making the social energy transition, we use living lab, as we said, and we detailed some steps for the establishing living labs both for Formentera and the Gökçeada, and their steps is the actually same, but in the further times, of course, if we need some more detailed for these steps, of course these steps can be changed according to the island's needs. In our first first step for these living labs, identifying stakeholders and actors in the islands. There can be NGOs, SMEs, companies, public authorities, residents, energy distributors, or the academician. But among them, the stakeholders, academicians, public authorities, NGOs, and the residents have our priority, because in the living lab, these actors must involved in this living lab. Then, after choosing these stakeholders, we will organize information meetings, panels, or workshops for conducting this survey. Because in this survey, we will determine their needs, and in these meetings, we will give information about the project. If we apply some technical thing, we will apply this technical parts of this project. We will gather their opinions, expectations with the survey, and we will finally bring the stakeholders together. And in our third step, we will implement innovative activities. We will identify volunteers to participate in project activities. We will implement activities with technical partners, because there will be some technical establishments, and we will monitor the activities. Actually, for trying these technical activities in the residents, we can choose also the volunteer residents for this step. Second step or third step, we will choose the volunteers, among them the actors. And then we will hold education and training activities, because they have to know what are they doing, why they are in this process. We will hold some seminars, panels, workshops, and these activities also should be open to all interested parties. Then we will conduct a second survey. Our aim in this survey is gathering some results, opinions from stakeholders after they try technology or make some activities after their observations. And the last step, we will prepare some reports, and we try to ensure sustainability, and we preparing a report. After preparing a report, we will organize more meetings, seminars, and other activities to ensure the sustainability and make some close relations to these stakeholders morely. And we also prepared this survey form that we shared the islands last month also. That's all I can say. Now I am giving floor to Diego. Also, I don't know, but maybe in the end of the all presentations, we can make a question and answer parts. What do you think, Diego?
Okay, thank you, Melis, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Really interesting. I think that now you can hear me better. Okay, let me share my screen. Let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay. Just 1 second. Let me set my desktop to better view. Okay, thank you so much. So Melis go through the detail about what are the definition of energy communities. We saw that there are many definitions in the 2 directive of the framework of the European framework, and that, let me say, that framework starts on 11th of December with the promotion of use of energy from renewable source. This framework is also known as a clean energy for all Europeans. And I will go through the detail only about the definition, the concept that are introduced in the Renewable Energy Directive on the recast, for that is also called RED 2. Let me say that in this directive there are...
perquè estic avui escoltant aquí una d'això i si no... Bon dia.
Hi, Sergi. We can hear you.
Sí, sí.
Sergi. Okay, okay, thank you. Okay. I was saying that there are three main concepts that are introduced in the RED 2. The first one is the concept of renewable self-consumer, and is defined as a final customer who generates renewable electricity for its own consumption and who may store or sell self-generated renewable electricity. Let me say that the simple case of the figure of renewable self-consumer is a person that have a house, a single house, that want to install a PV and needs a legal framework for get incentives for self-consumption or get paid for the electricity that he inject in the grid. A second figure, a second character that is defined in RED 2, in the Article 1, it's a so-called collective self-consumers, or also known as jointly acting renewable self-consumers. It is defined as a group of at least two cooperating renewable self-consumers who are located in the same building or in a multi-apartment block. So it's the case of a building usually located in a city where the people don't have so much space to install PV, if not on the top of the roof, on the rooftop. So since the building is a shared asset, I mean, it's owned by all the guys that live in there, the installation of PV cannot be done by a single customer, but by the whole building. So the RED 2 introduce a framework to do this action, have a PV on the rooftop share between many customers, many guys, all the people that live in that building, the matter of the fact. So here I'm reporting the point 2 of Article 21 to be precise of RED 2, where are listed all the activities that can be carried out by a collective self-consumption scheme of or a single self-consumer. First, a self-consumer can generate renewable energy, store and sell their excess of production. This can be done only through renewables power purchase agreement between supplier or between the customer and the aggregator for the directive. And moreover, also peer-to-peer trading arrangements are considered in this legal framework. The second activity that can be carried out is the installation, the operation of energy storage system, combined, of course, with the generation of PV solar that are done in the building, for example. The third activity, this is not an activity, but it's a right, is that one that all the members of the multi-apartment building, for example, can maintain their rights and obligation as a final customers. That in the matter of the fact, that mean that they should be able to change the supplier when they want, as is now possible for a normal customer, not a self-consumption customer. And the third point is receive remuneration, including where applicable through support scheme for the energy that is produced by the PV plant, for example, or on the rooftop. And moreover, is take some incentives for the self-consumption quantity of energy. Why? Because this self-consumption avoid losing the grid, loss in the grid, power loss grid for the technician here, and so make it more stable the grid and cheaper the price of energy in the market. Imagine if most of the building in your city start to do this action. So here an example of a collective self-consumption scheme. We can see in the picture here a typical building in a city where every customer has his private point of delivery here represented, and so the amount of electricity consumed by each customer is recorded by the DSO through the point of delivery. And moreover, there are 2 points of delivery that are owned by the whole building. That in this case, the first one is the point of delivery where is connected the PV plants. And the second one, shared point of delivery, is is here represented is that one where is connected the storage system. This is nothing of new, because in each building, in every building that, for example, I have an elevator or in the building, it's mandatory to have a point of delivery that is owned by the whole building, not by a single customer, and the bills of that point of delivery are shared between all the members. So it's an old concept for new challenge, let me say. In this context, the member states will be forced in the future to apply this new directive and transpose it in a national law. In this national law, the member states will ensure that the renewable consumer located in the building are permitted to arrange sharing of renewable energy. So the energy production of the PV plants would be allowed to be shared between all the members that are located in the building. Now it's time to introduce the third character that are defined in the red, that it's renewable energy communities. This is a legal entity controlled by the members that are located in the proximity of renewable energy plants, and these members are the owner of these plants. They would be allowed to share the energy production of these plants. The concept is very similar to the collective self-consumption scheme, but the PV plants, for example, is not located on the top of the building, but in proximity of the point of delivery of the apartment of the members. What does it mean, this? Around Europe, we read the national law, and in the matter of the fact, this proximity means, for example, in Italy, but also in Spain, that the PV plants or the generation plants and the members, the customers that consume this energy, must be located in the same low voltage grid. So all the members and all the production point and needs to be downstream of the same secondary substation. So it's really similar, the concept to collective self-consumption, with the only difference that they are not located in the same building block, but in the same low voltage grid. And the activities that can be carried out by the renewable energy communities, in a matter of the fact, are the same activities that I listed before for a collective self-consumption scheme. So now we have a new law, but we have a new problem: how to share the incentives and the revenues between members. I mean, some members choose to put capital, to put money to buy these PV plants. Other members choose to have ethical consumption. That means to consume during the hour that the PV plants generate more energy. So in the law in Italy, for example, say that it's up to the community choose how to share these incentives. And now I'm going to share our solution, the solution of Algovat for this problem. Just to contextualize a little bit more this problem, I'm going to show here the Italian case, but that it's similar to the case of other member states around Europe. So, for example, the share energy, so the energy produced by the common PV, are consumed by the member of the renewable energy communities. By the way, to choose how much is the amount of energy shared between the members, in Italy we follow this law. During 1 hour, the DSO gonna see which is the amount of electricity, of energy, to be more correct, is produced by the PV or the shared asset. In this case, in the case 1, is 25 kilowatt hour, and how much is it, the energy consumed by all the members of the energy communities. In this case, is 16 kilowatt hour. For Italian legislation, the amount of energy that can be called energy shared is the minimum between these two quantities. For this is 16 kilowatt hour in this first case. In the second case, between 9 and 10, it's always based on 1 hour. The amount of energy produced by the common asset is 10 kilowatt hour. The amount of energy consumed by all the members of the renewable energy communities is 22 kilowatt hour. So the amount of energy shared is the minimum between these two quantities is 10 kilowatt hour. Why it's important to understand how much is it, this energy shared? Because the incentives given by the market are quantified based the amount of energy shared. So the incentives will be given to all the members of the energy communities. But the law, let me say, the mathematical law that establish how much of these incentives needs to be give to each members, it's up to energy communities to choose this mathematical law. So this is the main goal of our solution that I'm going to show to you now. It's have a monitoring of the quantity consumed and produced by each member, and choose how to share between all the members these incentives. And this is customized based on the internal regulation of the renewable energy community. Let me show this example here. Now I'm showing to you our application called Libra CR that allow to manage energy communities with a lot of members and a lot of production point. In this example, we have one point of delivery where is connected a production plant, a PV plant in this case, and 99 point of delivery where are connected traditional customer. So you can imagine a big building block with 99 apartments. So now we have to monitor how much energy is consumed by each member and how much energy is produced, injected by the PV plants, do this calculation of energy shared, and give the incentives to each member based of their attitude to consume energy in a sustainable way. That means when the PV plants produce energy. So let me show our software web app. Okay. In this first dashboard, we, the energy communities manager, have the possibility to have a short recap of the number of points of delivery included in the energy communities, a recap about the energy shared in this moment, in this hour, and yesterday, and the interface between the energy communities, and in Italy is called GSE. In the matter of the fact, is the entity that manage the electricity system in the nation. So we can see that today we had 0% of energy sold to the grid. All the energy produced by the PV plants, it's consumed by the members of the renewable energy communities. And we have a recap of the energy that the day before was sold to the grid. And I mean, the goal of the renewable energy community is to minimize this quantity that we want to self-consume. We want to self-consume energy, not to sell energy to the grid. And this is a recap of how much euro are given by the system operator the last month. Okay, this is our first dashboard for the recap. A second dashboard allow to see what's going on in the renewable energy community in the last 24 hours. So here we can see in blue the aggregation of all the consumption of all the members in the renewable energy communities. In green, we can see the production of PV. We can see at midday is so big, at in the night is 0. It starts to produce almost at 8 because it's summer. It's not summer since yesterday in Italy, but I mean the sun rise up and start to be strong at 8. So, and in orange we can see the amount of energy that it's shared between that means that it's self-consumed consumed by the members of the renewable energy. We can see here the total amount, since the production is major, is larger than the consumption, all the shared energy here is equal to the consumption. Here, the shared energy is equal to the production because the production is minor the consumption. And here we can have, in this second dashboard, a recap of what's going on in the last month. So in in orange we have the total amount of energy consumed, and in blue the total amount of energy that is produced by the renewable energy communities. We can have a recap of what's going on during the last month here in terms of percentage. A third dashboard can show to the energy communities manager, but also to all the members, what's going on in real time. To have this, to update this software in the renewable energy community, have to install a data concentrator that collect, aggregate all the data of all the points of the delivery, and send the data to our web app. This is a cost for the renewable energy communities, but in our project, we are trying to establish a collaboration between the DSO and our renewable energy communities. How? Using the data concentrator that it's installed in the secondary substation of the DSO. So this cost is not to be carried out by the members of the renewable energy communities, but it's carried out by the DSO. And it's not an extra cost for them because they need this data concentrator, but have this collaboration allow to the renewable energy communities to don't have this cost of installation, or the cost of installation of the data concentrator. And in this dashboard, we can see what's going on in real time. And yesterday, for example, because it's set to show what's going on, the stats of the day before. And here again, we have the shared energy in orange, the production in green. As usual, we can see that close midday, the production is bigger and the night is 0. And this is a typical consumption profile of private customer. I mean, usually the people wake up at 6, 7, 8 and start to consume energy. Usually at 6 p.m. they come back from work at home and start to consume more energy. For example, they turn off the Hoover, they turn off the washing machine. So we have a peak at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. And so here we can have a recap about all the consumption of all the members, the production of all the PV plants, and the shared energy, and how much incentives are gave the day before due our production, our behavior, I mean the behavior of the members in terms of consumption when the PV is injecting energy. So for the day, for yesterday was 35 euro. For dashboard is about a recap of the whole month, that it's really important because it's the recap that allow to share the incentives in the bills for the previous month. So we have an overview of the behavior of the renewable energy communities, always in terms of consumption, production, and self-energy. And let me go faster in order to give the possibility to Damian to have his presentation. Here we have a list of consumption of every point of delivery in terms of legal mandatory aspect for Italian legislation, and this aspect can be exported as an Excel file. And here, I think the most important thing is the part where the energy community manager can set the law that allow to him to know how to share these incentives between members. So there are many kind of rules. I think that it's very important in this kind of mathematical rules, put some kind of fairy parameters are called in literature, in the research world, that it means that all the members that put money for buy and install the PV, they're gonna have some incentives, a part of incentives that doesn't take account their behavior, and also all the members that are inside the renewable energy communities that don't put money to buy the PV, for example, have a part of incentives only to be inside the renewable energy communities. No, and usually this parameter that set these possibilities are called fairy parameters. And the other part of incentives usually are shared between the members and between all the members based parameters that establish how much was the initial capital expenditure, the initial how much money put for buy the PV, and the second parameters is related to ethical behavior, how much energy was consumed during the production period. And here going through, we have other other dashboard that allow to go through the performance of all the members in a really fast way. And okay, that's the last dashboard. And here we can see all the measurement that the data concentrator recording during the last day, for example, here in a really easy way. As usual, we have consumption, energy shared, and consumption. And here we can see the behavior of each member of the communities. I'm going through each color is a different member. And we can see how much energy was consumed during the day had by this member. Since these data are private data, only the manager of the renewable energy community is allowed to see this data, to calculate it, and to, how to share the incentives. Of course, the single members have the information only about his behavior, and that's all. In this, now I show to you the web application with the dashboard that are available for the manager of the renewable energy community. So that's all to my part. Just to have a briefly recap, I show in the beginning this new figure of collective self-consumption scheme and renewable energy communities. The new problems that arise with this arise for renewable energy communities and self-consumption scheme, and our solution to solve this problem. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Diego. Now I am giving floor to Damia from Formentera.
Okay. Well, I'm actually in Mallorca, but yeah, it's okay. I'll talk. Can you guys see the presentation? Yeah.
Yes.
Can you see my pointer?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so thank you very much. Well, before the start, I'm going to talk a little bit about the local energy communities in Spain, and in particular in the Balearic Islands. Okay, so what I know. When Aurora and Diego asked me if I could say something about local energy communities, but I'm not really an expert. So well, I apologize if I don't know something, or I don't know what to ask something. So, but before the first idea was to contact the colleagues from Som Energia, which is it's an important energy cooperative in Spain. I asked them if because they are interested also in promoting local energy communities, and they use some open source tools to manage local energy communities. So I asked them to participate in the workshop. Unfortunately, they couldn't. Okay, so maybe there will be another opportunity to talk to them if, at some point. So I talked. So the colleagues from the Som Energia share with me some slides, okay, about the experience of local energy communities here in the Balearic Islands. As a matter of fact, the presentation is a presentation of another cooperative, is a sister cooperative of Som Energia called Som Serveis Energetics, which is a cooperative started by some members of Som Energia here in Mallorca. to provide services, energetic services to the partners. Okay, so and they are trying to implement some local energy communities. I'm going to share the experience. I'm a member of both cooperatives, by the way. There is some noise. Okay, so the local energy communities. Well, Melis and Diego have already said many of the things, but it's okay. So just go through fast and then go to the point of the experience in the Balearic Islands. Well, energy communities are a key tool to enable citizens to play an active role in the transition energy and to curb the effects of climate change. The regulatory framework, this has been already presented, so is at the European level, is established by the Clean Energy Package, so was effective in June 2019. Okay, and this has been said that in that package, the renewable energy communities and city energy communities were defined, and Melis has explained the difference about these two type of communities. I will talk general. I will use a generic term as local energy communities. Okay, so whatever. At the national level in Spain, the responsible to coordinate the work on local energy communities is this institution, which is the Institute for Diversification and Saving of Energy, national level. It's called IDAE. And the energy communities are defined in the law RD, Real Decreto 23 to 2020. Okay, and in principle, the European rules from the Clean Energy Package should be implemented in a plan which is called the National Integrated Energy and Climate Plan, PENIEC, that has to set the rules in Spain from 2021 to 2030. There is a first version of this document, but it has not been approved to date. Okay, because it was stopped due to the pandemic. So yeah, the regulation is still not final. Then at the regional level, the responsible is the Conselleria de Transición Energética, Sectors Productivos y Memoria Democrática. Well, this is the local organization, and in particular, there are two institutions, which is the Balearic Energy Institute and the Dirección General for Energy and Climate Change, are the responsible for promoting the change in the energy model in the Balearic Islands, okay? To include Formentera. Well, among their actions, they have the objectives of promoting energy communities. Okay, as a matter of fact, there is right now subventions, so there is money available to create energy communities for self-consumption. Okay, so this is being actively promoting already. Okay, so what is a local energy community? This has been said already. Association, cooperative, whatever institution oriented to social and environmental value rather than profitability, dedicated to energy activities. Okay, so the requirements: open and voluntary participation, autonomy and independence. I'm talking about renewable energy communities. Democratic governance, action at the local level, social and environmental values. It has to have a non-legal entity. Well, as a matter of fact, this Sun Surveys Energetic, which is a cooperative, as a consumer cooperative for energetic services. The idea behind is to be a tool to articulate energy communities. Okay, so that's what the partners from the cooperative are trying to do. They're trying to build some right now. So one of the benefits it brings has been said already: phasing out fossil fuels, reducing energy consumption, investing in energy, social support, and so on. Okay, an energy community can do several things. Among other activities, there are three possibilities: is building a community photovoltaic park, for instance, to sell energy to the grid directly. Can be a collective photovoltaic installations on roof of buildings for self-consumption. Can be energy storage in buildings or other facilities, or whatever. So in what follows, I am going to focus on collective photovoltaic installations on rooftop of buildings. What I think is probably what will be more easier to implement in Formentera, probably at some point. So it will be something like that. And also in one building or in several buildings to put photovoltaic PV installations whose production will be shared between the members of the energy community. Okay, So in the energy community, there are four ways to participate, four possible ways to participate in the community. Well, the first is just being a facilitator partners. That would be someone that has a space available, so a rooftop available for PV installation, and let's say it provide or lend that space to the energy community to put the installation for a long period of time, 20 years or whatever. The other possible role to participate in the energy community is being a prosumer. That's the active participant that so the partners that participate in the production and the consumption of the PV installation. Okay. In Spain, in addition of being downstream to the secondary substation, they have to be less than 500 meters from the PV installation. Okay, so that's a big restriction that I don't understand why they decided to put that, but that's the current rule. Okay. So the other possible role is just being an investor partner. So if the PV installation is going to be financed, instead of borrowing money from a bank, simply partners from the energy community just can put the money, okay, or the money to build the facilities with an established interest rate and that. Okay, that is always the interest rate has a maximum to be a non-profit, non-speculative investment. So it has to be with social character of investment. And finally, supportive partner is just people that may participate, volunteers or whatever, to the community to support the energy transition, but they are not going to be prosumers at this time, but they may change their role in later time, so maybe in a second PV installation or whatever they may. Okay, so that's the four possible ways to produce, and let me put an example of what an energy community could be. So it's maybe putting an PV installation, for instance, 20 kilowatts peak, with an estimated annual production in Balearic Islands of 28,000 kilowatts hour per year. Then the prosumers will take a participation in the photovoltaic installation. And for instance, in the example, let's say, is divided in 40 participations, which is equivalent of 0.5 kilowatts peaks of photovoltaic power. Okay, and let's say, well, this participation may have so the prosumer to get this participation put 95 euros per year, which entitles it to profit from 700 kilowatts hour per year. Okay, which is 1/4 of the total production. In money, this was more or less, well, this means that the cost of the kilowatt during this period, let's say this is for a period of 10 years. Okay, so that cost is 13 cents per kilowatt hour. This would mean more or less a saving of 30% with respect to buying the energy directly from the grid. Okay, so that would be the benefit of participating here, in addition to getting a transition to renewable energy. So it's a monetary incentive. While investors simply put the money, so if, let's say the initial investment was 32 years to be returned in 10 years at 2% annual interest rate. Okay, and that corresponds to that cost more or less. Okay, so that would be how the local energy community could be built from scratch. Of course, if the prosumers have the money, they do not need to have investor partners. That may depend on each situation. Okay, but it gives me a way to finance in a fair way the PV installation. And then, well, exactly. And then when you have these things, this is what Diego just explained, then how do you share the energy between the participants? Okay, right now, how it is done is just that the production, the annual production, actually the production day to day and hour to hour is shared proportional to the participation. Okay, so over the year you have one participation is 700 kilowatts hour, but every month is different. Okay, and then every month you get, for every participation, you get 1/4 of the production every month, or even more. One for every participation, 1/40. So there is 1/40 the production of the PV installation. Okay, that actually hour to hour. This is not optimum. Okay, but this is how it's being done right now. Okay, for instance, and then for instance in winter, you have a daily production of 1.25 kilowatts hour for every half kilowatt peak installed. Okay, in summer this may be 2.5. And then so essentially this would be as if you would have that corresponding power installed in your own house. Okay, and then the utility company, in this case could be Some Energia, for instance, will use that power for every customer as using a net balance scheme. No, so let's say if you have one participation, and this will be here at 1 in winter, you are producing, so the corresponding power you are producing is 200 watts, 0.2 kilowatts. Then if you are consuming more than that, then that's full self-consumption. If you are consuming less than that, the excess production is counted as it is injected into the grid with a corresponding monetary value. Okay, and then you have net balance every month. So that is how it is doing. It's been doing right now. Okay, and so then this is a summary how the energy community will look like. So there is maybe a facilitator which is sharing space to putting the PV installation. Then within 500 meters radius, 100 meters radius, the prosumers must be there. Okay, and they consume self-consume the energy produced by the installation. And then in principle here, the return to participate in energy communities, in addition to the benefits for the social benefits and environmental benefits, is savings in the bill for the kilowatts hour, which are cheaper than those bought directly from the grid. And then there is investor partner. The investor partner can be anywhere, of course, and they just put money to build the PV installation and will get some interest rate on the money invested. Well, and then just 2 examples of local energy communities, success examples. So there is as far as I know, there is none in Balearic Islands yet. So this one here is in Catalonia, in Cornellà del Terri city, and is an energy community promoted by the City Council of Cornellà del Terri and the Girona Provincial Council, no? And they are part of a larger project which is called Smart Grid Communities. And this was the first public-private energy community in Spain, and served 3 municipal facilities, 2 schools and the town hall, and 17 neighboring families with the scheme I just explained. And the other example case is Some Energia, which I was mentioning at the beginning. But Some Energia is also a renewable energy community. This is a statewide energy community set up as a non-profit green energy consumption and production cooperative. So Some Energy is a consumption and production cooperative. It was founded in 2010 and aims to bring together thousands of people to change the energy model. Okay, the objective here is going 100% renewable. Some Energy only sells renewable energy. The cooperative has now more than 70,000 members through the state, and the main activities are commercialization and production of energy from renewable sources. Okay, as well as helping the model. Well, I know I'm a member of this cooperative. Some Energy is promoting local energy communities and actually is working in open source tools to manage them. I understand it must be something analogous to what Diego presented, but I don't know the details. So if we want to talk, we want to have more information on this. Well, we could set a meeting with the responsibles of this task in Some Energy. Well, and incidentally, Some Energy takes part also in an European project, which is called RESCOP VPP virtual power plant. So I don't know the details, but might be interesting also to see what it is doing. RESCOP is a federation of cooperatives in Europe, around Europe. Okay, and actually they set up a guide on how to actually, well, they published a guide on how to set up local energy communities in this link that we can share the presentation if you want to have a look. Well, and yeah, that's what I wanted to present. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Damia. And I see that Soren is here. Soren?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I am now on a very unstable connection, so I hope that we can do something anyway. I'm on a ferry, so this is an island community condition that we have to sail to get to the mainland, and it's a very stormy day here. So I'm at sea, as you can see. So it's
Oh.
rocking a little bit. Do you have my presentation on your computer? Can you run it from your computer?
You didn't send us your presentation.
I did send.
Let me check, but I don't have your presentation. I think maybe if you send it now, I can see maybe. Oral way. Do you have Soren's presentation?
I cannot send it now
also?
because I'm in a very weak connection.
I'm looking quickly.
Okay.
So I can start by saying, when you're looking for the presentation, that I'm from a Danish small island in the middle of Denmark. And we took on a project almost 20 years ago to be the Danish renewable energy island. And this was a technical issue to develop like an independency from oil and coal and imported energy from outside. The basic of the project turned out to be much more like a community development project, because technology was kind of the answer to many of the questions that we had on this island. So as a community, we suffered from a depopulation. We didn't have a lot of jobs. We had several kind of companies that shut down, and we were kind of in a depression seen from a local perspective, which means that we would then be, looking into a kind of a very gloomy perspective for the future. So the energy transition turned out to be the key to a development process where we basically turned around the economy from importing about 10 million euros worth of energy to the island every year. And we had to make and earn that money in a local business perspective. We started producing our own energy. We changed from oil heating to biomass heating, from district heating systems where all the villages got connected to a local district heating. So house by house, they saved personally a lot of money in the houses. And we bought the energy from the next door farmers in straw and wood chips and solar. So we changed the import-export economy to a local circular economy. And that again demanded a lot of jobs. We had to create a whole range of new jobs to install all these different things here, exchange the heating systems in the houses, and get people involved in the process while we're doing it. We also exchanged, in that condition, we stopped importing oil for heating totally. We also changed the way we produce electricity. We had a cable connection to the mainland, and we imported all the electricity there. So in a range of 10 years, we installed 11 megawatt capacity, which was equivalent to all the energy we needed, seen from an electricity point of view. And we owned the turbines ourselves. So the community invested big time in this. In total, we invested more than 60 million euros worth of energy installation. And there's only 3,700 people on Samsø. And you might think that we are very rich because we could do that, but we're not. We are, compared to the rest of Denmark, a low income area. And because we are a low income area, we also don't have that kind of surplus production in financial matters. So we needed to find the money in savings and in selling energy to the other. So the energy transition became a green business that then provided us with the sources so we could invest in the next technology. So the ferry I'm in right now, which is a really big ferry with 600 passengers and 160 cars, I think is a hybrid ferry sailing on gas and electricity. So this has kind of been the result of this also, that we have now invested big time in infrastructure on this island also, because we have surplus electricity. We can now feed it into transport and vehicles like ferries and cars. And I have to say that we are the municipality or the local government in Denmark that has the most electric vehicles per capita anywhere here also. And why is that possible? Well, I think basically it is possible because we needed this transition as a community. So when you're looking at community engagement or community power or community involvement in this process, we started by having some really serious problems. And they were kind of due to the situation of the geographical isolation. We were out there in the middle of the ocean, and we didn't really, we were not able to attract young people, young families with kids in the school. So we were closing schools, we were lacking jobs, we were lacking local economy. So this transition kind of came as an answer to our questions. So we didn't ask for wind turbines or change of technology. So this was kind of just by luck that this was happening at the same time. We also saw oil prices was rising from $30 per barrel on the world market to almost $130 per barrel after 10 years. And in this middle of this period, we did all the investment, and thereby we saved a lot of money by stop for import of oil. And you could ask them, how did you convince people to do this? Well, I think basically we didn't show people the whole project, like the total transition. We broke it up in smaller projects like infrastructure, electricity, heating systems, transportation. What's in it for me as a carpenter, house builder, house insulation, better windows, more insulation in a roof. And all these things became little business potentials or opportunities for companies that existed on the island already. And therefore, there was a lot of different drivers with different intentions who then became what you call the diplomats or the ambassadors for change on the island. And when we started this narrative of change, then the community kind of could see this is not just something from the capital, from the parliament and top down. This is actually our own destiny we are holding in our hands, and we can now do things here we couldn't do before because we didn't have the means to do it. Now we can make our own money by producing our own energy locally, and thereby we are able to invest in also the next infrastructure. And for me, this has been a really great process. I mean, I just have to say that tomorrow we have a visit from Financial Times. They'll come to Samsø tomorrow to make an article about what happened here, seen from a financial aspect. How did you change the what do you call it, the way of thinking, and can we use that in a scaling of projects around the world? And could that be kind of one of the projects presented at the COP meeting in Glasgow this November? So the next COP meeting will be represented by a good example from Samsø as well. So we are good for the UN, the development goals. We're also good for the Danish government because we have demonstrated that Danish green tech technology is working in a local context, and thereby we become a marketplace for green technology and green innovation. And therefore we play a positive role instead of just being a sorry little place that needs support from the EU or from the national government. But we can also offer something that is good for industry in Denmark. It's good for the universities, for the academic education programs, because we are testing the future transition in real time and in full scale on Samsø, and thereby 5,000 visitors per year, depending a little bit on when we are. I mean, Corona hasn't helped us much, but apart from that, we have a lot of visitors from all over the world, which means that we also do workshops for people from Indonesia or from Australia, or from Japan and America, because there's a lot of rural communities, local communities, that is very similar to what we have experienced in Denmark or in Samsø or in other places. And the shared experience here is worth something for other organizations around the world who wants to replicate and do the same, because they have the same questions for the future. How do we engage the next generation? How do we make a generation shift where we have young people who come and live in the community and who have kids that will fill up the schools so we have lively and strong schools? How do we create a local economy that is strong enough to maintain the road conditions, the ferries and the connection and the whole infrastructure, so we have a modern livable community where people really are attracted to come here also? And how do we become a destination for people to come and visit so we can share our experiences also in the future? So in short, this is my kind of presentation, that this is what I want to share with you. You can go to the website energiacademy.dk. I think you can share this on this program's website, because there's a lot of material, there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of data, you can download whoever you are. If you're interested in the social dimension, there's videos about open space technology, which is a meeting technology we have developed to meet kind of the required evolutionary co-ownership by citizens. There's something about financing, there's something about technology. So I think you can find something that is worthwhile looking at for everybody who is participating. And I think with this, I'll open the floor or hand it over to you. And I'm sorry you couldn't find my presentation. I have it here on an email sent to you maybe 3 weeks ago or something like that. So I hope you find it and share it with the audience who is in here. But I think it's enough for me for now. And I'm ready for questions or a discussion afterwards if you want.
Thank you, Soren. We checked, but we couldn't find your presentation actually. If you send us, we can share with all our partners also. And
okay.
Yeah, as you said, let's question and answer parts. We can pass. And if you have any questions from all of the speakers, we can answer it also. Any questions?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you all for this presentation. It was really interesting and very instructive. Actually, I am a little bit confused, at least for the pricing mechanism showed by Damia and Diego. I thought that each person owns his own, let's say, renewable energy, and we will have some energy transaction that can be done through a peer-to-peer transaction or that kind of dynamic pricing mechanism within the energy community. But what was presented, it shows that all renewables are considered as the property of the energy communities, and then the profits, if we have profit, will be shared within this between the members. So are this the only way to make energy community, or we can choose any pricing mechanism within that the EC? This is my first question. For Diego or Dania?
Yeah. Diego, are you answering or do I say something?
I can answering for the Italian case for sure, but I think that the Spanish case it's almost
the same. Yeah, sure.
It's the same. Yes, there is a concept that maybe it's is missing in our discussion and was really highlighted yesterday, for example, in the task force of Bridge for Energy Communities, and this concept is the shared assets. I mean, this is related to share assets. Usually, the investment is too much big. The capital expenditure is too much big for a single citizen that, I mean, expend more or less 30, 40 per month for electricity. In Italy, I mean, this is the average, but in Spain, it's almost the similar. And have a big capital expenditure for starts to change their behavior in terms of consumption. I mean, consumption from renewables is too much. It's I mean, the typical citizen in Italy and in Spain don't have the same cost benefit that the guy from the Danish energy communities explained for them. For the people that lives in a highland where the cost of the oil is the main expenditure in their GDP. In the matter of the fact, is like the 30%. For people that live in a big city, it's quite different, and usually they propose to have this attitude: buy a shared asset, maybe with the help of a bank that raising the funds for buy these assets. Through the incentives, they start to pay the this road, and that's all. So it's really unpopular at the moment that a single customer want to expand like 5,000 euro for a plant or something for that. It's easier at the moment. I mean, this is the feedback that we had, that the European Commission had, for people that living in a city, to have this kind of shared asset, have a small capital expenditure, and have a ridiculous profit, but a really good impact in their green footprint.
I thank you, Diego. Actually, I understand, but for example, if I give here in France, there are some houses who install, let's say, between 1 kilowatt to 2 kilowatt PV. And the idea was, by creating energy community, maybe to aggregate this area where people are already engaged by their own in this dynamic. And I think even in Gökçeada, what we are aiming to do in the project is to install individual PV in rooftops. So my question concerns the pricing dynamic within this energy community, where we have individuals more than, let's say, a shared or common investment in one PV plant.
Let me say something. So as it works now, okay, as it works now, if you have your own PV installation, I have mine own in my place, for instance. Here in Spain, you know the net balance. So you always self-consume, and whether you have an excess energy, you sell it to the grid, okay? And it's my utility bill, that in this case is Som Energia, okay, which is a cooperative as well, and they are paying me a fixed price for that energy I'm injecting into the grid, okay? So, and then, yeah, so they pay me for the excess, and then if I consume later, they charge me another price, and then you have some saving on that. Okay, so that would be just an individual, so no community here. In the community, as I presented, and because there is no tools for that, if you have two PV participations in the community, okay, because you live, well, that what Diego said, if you live in a flat and you have no space for a PV installation, you can't participate in a community, to build a common facility, a PV facility. So that's first thing. And then second, then you have both, or you participate with two, you have two participations of the PV installation. Then if you are consuming less than the amount of energy that is producing, now they are treating you as a single, as an individual producer, okay? So that and this is not optimal, because it may happen that one user has excess energy and another one lacks energy, and and then the first one is paid with some money from the utility, and the other one is buying more expensive, so it will be better to share that within the community. But in Spain, there are no tools to do that right now, okay? And that's, I believe, is one of the objectives. I don't know how that could be done, because if the members of the community are far apart within these 500 meters, so they are connected through the through the public grid, through the grid of the DSO. So you cannot. So it has to be through the metering, and it has to be the utility company that has to make these changes in the prices and say, okay, if you have excess energy and a partner from the same community needs more energy, maybe you have made an internal interchange with some benefits and so on. Okay, so and that's not done. I mean, I think that's what it should be developed. As far as
the same in Italy. The same in Italy. There is not a way to have this kind of local market. It's a really interesting topic. Just for say the active in the bridge, in the regulation side of the bridge about local energy market. It's that one that looks more hard to be done, because it's really hard to implement these in the real world, because every customer have a different contract with different supplier, and you can, since our customers don't participate in the market, but it's the supplier that participate in the market, the peer-to-peer transaction and all this kind of stuff needs this a contract between the supplier that have a contract with the final customer, let me say. And it's put in our regulatory framework, this kind of secondary market, of local market, it's really hard at the moment. I think it's developed.
I thought it was possible to make, at least within the energy community, some energy transaction without considering the supplier, the energy supplier, because we have
a private network.
Yeah,
exactly. It's the same in Italy. Only if you have a private network.
Okay.
If you don't have a private network, you cannot do that. You have to do it through the supplier.
So it will not be possible. Okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That, and it's a pity that today the partners from Some Energy cannot come, because I think that but in that case, you require all the members of the community to be clients of the same cooperative. And in that case,
just the last question about, you showed that in your business model or philosophy, Diego, that you will share the incentive according to the consumer behavior. So it's interesting, but it seems that the consumers, when he consume energy according to the power production, if all let's say members behave in good way, they will have less incentive, because the money is generated somehow by energy to the grid. So if all of them consume what they are producing, we will have €0 to share, if I correctly understand the mechanism.
Not zero, if all of them consume during the production. Okay, yeah. There is two aspects. They will maximize the amount of energy shared, and at the top is the peak of production of the plants.
Okay.
And the incentives that the power system operator gave to them needs to be shared between more members. Or if yes, it's not zero, but when you reach the limits, that it's the maximum that you consume all that you produce, you cannot have more incentives.
Yeah, exactly. So in somehow we have, the member must be good the student with another bad student to have more benefits. Yeah.
Exactly. But to be honest, yes. I think that the regulation is still not mature, because imagine in this moment you take an incentives for shared energy, but it means that you're gonna take the money for the energy that you inject in the system.
Yeah,
I mean, also for the energy shared, that it's €50 for megawatt hour at nothing. Now,
yeah,
that
exactly.
In the head, we had a price of 150 during last month because the gas price that increased. And the second thing that you're gonna, if you have a time of use tariff with your supplier, you're gonna pay more the energy that you're consuming during midday if you compare with the price that you have during the night. And sometimes it's better do your contract with the supplier, consume during the night and not during the day if you take the tariff that you have at midday at minus the incentives that you take. And a huge concept here is that you cannot have double charge in the directive. A second huge concept that the people can choose their supplier, change their supplier always. Match these two conditions, bring us to have this kind of incentives that it's a bit strange. I mean, it's not a pure self-consumption. You consume from your supplier, you sell to the grid, and you take an incentives for the benefit that you bring to the energy market. It's not a pure self-consumption. For a pure self-consumption, you need to have your own grid, but also in a building, in a multi-apartment building, the internal grid from apartment to apartment is owned by the DSO. It's not owned by the building.
Okay.
Because everyone have a different point of delivery, and I really can understand why. Imagine if a member of a building stop to pay the bills. If have a single point of delivery, the supplier can break down your connection, a single connection. In other case, the other members of the building needs to pay for you what you didn't pay in your bill, for example. And it happens with the water in Italy. There is a single point of delivery for each buildings. It means that in poor neighborhoods, the people that have a little amount of money needs to pay the bills for the people that have no money for water. And it's a bit tricky. Many problems.
Sorry, I have a question, Diego.
Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. I just think that the implemented mechanism for pricing is based on FIT, feed-in tariff scheme. I think it's right or not. In feed-in tariff scheme, the price is defined by the regulatory institutes, and all the prosumers must behave based on these rates according to the rule. It's true or not?
If what you said is that whatever when you feed the fixed price is 50 euro for megawatt hour, if you mean this, it's true.
Yes. Actually, for renewable generations, the price are fixed and set by regulatory bodies.
Yes, for small size PV, for example, the price is that one. It's 50 for megawatt.
So in the energy community, this is the same case for pricing mechanism based on these predefined rates.
Yeah, it's the same. You have this, the price, I mean, the revenue from injected power with a fixed price of 50 euro for megawatt hour, plus the incentives that are calculated based on the benefit that this behavior bring to the market in Italy.
Okay.
But more or less, it's the same.
Thank you.
Many countries. The other.
More questions? I think there is no question.
Thank you, everybody. Hello, and thank you, everybody. I'm from Georgia. I'm Eliso. It is really very nice to participate on this workshop because it's a thing for us. And I'm also presenting Cooperative Development Fund, and the head of the Cooperative Development Fund, Natia Katsia, is also participating on this workshop. I, of course, have lots of questions, but first of all, I want to read the materials once more because it's very new thing for us. And for the next time, I will be more prepared, and then, I will share your experience more, and I will have more questions. Thank you once more for the very interesting and very important presentation for us.
Thank you, Eliso. Anyone wants to add something? Okay, then thank you for all your joining us today in our workshop, and see you in next events. Also, we can maybe take a photo. If you wish, you can also open your cameras. Thank you. Now I am taking Sen de açar mısın? I am thinking now. 3, 2, and 1. Thank you so much and see you in the next events. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Everybody.
Have
Thank
a
you.
nice day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Hı hı.